Thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased that I could be here today to join you, to join Senator Whitehouse and our colleagues who have been working to try to bring to light for the public the really serious and ongoing problem of excessive campaign spending. And I want to congratulate Senator Whitehouse for all of his work in leading this effort. It's been very important. This excessive spending has really been a problem for the last 2 years since the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United, because their decision has allowed for the formation of what's been called super PACs, which are really organizations that can spend unlimited amounts of money without ever having to disclose where that money came from. So the public doesn't know who's spending the money, doesn't know how that money, the decisions about spending are being made. And now we're actually in the middle of the first presidential election since that Supreme Court decision, and we can really see the dramatic impact of that spending. There are now more than 500 super PACs registered with the Federal Election Commission. They're permitted to raise and spend unlimited amounts of secret money to fund political advertisements. And again, I want to emphasize the fact that we don't know where this money's coming from. We don't know if it's coming from corporations. We've heard a lot of stories, seen a lot of stories that there are very wealthy individuals who are putting up money for these super PACs. But the amount of money that has been spent by these super PACs so far this election cycle alone has just topped $100 million. And nearly 80 million of that came from just 5 groups. So I think as we're looking at this money being spent, it's important for all of us to reflect on our national priorities. What does it say about our country that we allow this kind of deluge of money to flood our electoral process? Who's really being represented? Are average voters in America being represented in this process? To provide some perspective, Mr. President, I think it might be useful to examine what else this amount of money could pay for. In the past few weeks, we've been discussing the importance of providing survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault with the resources they need by reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. Well, $100 million, what's already been spent so far in this, by these super PACs, that $100 million could fund all of the domestic violence and sexual assault assistance in the entire state of New Hampshire for 20 years. It could serve more than 320,000 victims. The New Hampshire Job Training Program provides workers with valuable instruction at community colleges across our state. It prepares workers for high-skilled jobs and creates a stronger economy. With $100 million, what's been spent by these super PACs, we could train 288,434 workers in New Hampshire. $100 million would provide low-income heating assistance to more than 135,000 households. That's enough to keep New Hampshire's neediest families warm for 3 winters. The starting salary for a police officer in the city of Manchester, our largest city in New Hampshire, is $50,000. With $100 million, we could put an additional 2,000 police officers on the street. But instead, this money's being spent on political advertisements, millions of dollars from groups who refuse to disclose their donors. And most of these expenditures are being made on attack ads. According to a study by the Wesleyan Media Project, at this point during the last presidential campaign in 2008, just 10% of the ads were negative. Now, in this presidential campaign, 70% of those ads are negative. It's no wonder that Americans are becoming increasingly disillusioned with our political process. The challenges confronting this country are significant. We need Americans to be engaged and invested in our political process, not throwing up their hands in frustration as the attack ads pile up. We need campaign finance reform. And I've been pleased to work with presiding officer, with Senator Whitehouse, with all of those of our colleagues in developing the Disclose Act, which makes some important changes to our current system. And Senator Whitehouse described the Disclose Act very well. But it will make sure that voters know who's really paying for all of these campaign ads. It doesn't eliminate super PACs, but it's a very important step in the right direction. I urge all of our colleagues to join us in calling for change and urging reform of our campaign finance system. I urge everyone in this body to support the Disclose Act. Thank you very much, Mr. President.